Hi guys, my name is Kirsty. Welcome back to Upside Down Books. We're here, I'm here, I'm alive. I have not been well, that is why you've not had a video, but we are doing a TBR today and that is very exciting. As you can see by this massive stack of books I've got going here, I obviously have a number of books to go through on my TBR because it's May, and if you've been around for a while you probably know what that means. First things first, just to elaborate, I have been unwell with COVID, I have been on the mend, and I have tragically been unable to film because I have not been very well. However, I've got a bit of energy after work today, so I thought I would sit down and do this video as May is already here, but I have been like hanging out to do this video and so frustrated that I've not had the energy or the health to do it. So every May I always do a special TBR because it's my birthday month. My birthday's at the very end of the month, and so each May I will read through all of the books I got for the previous year for my birthday that I've not got to yet, as a reckoning moment for me to actually get through and read all of the books I haven't got to. Because that's always been like one of my challenges. It's annually on my like challenge list is to go and read all the books that people have given me. And I do variably well at this, sometimes better than others and sometimes just downright awful. But I'm so excited to do it because just, I don't know, I did it in December, but I don't think I did a very good job for my Christmas one, so it feels like a really long time and I'm really motivated and in the mood to read. I will be pulling double duty this year as well because I'm going to be swapping the structure of this challenge, but you'll find out more about that later on at the end of the month. So let's crack on into it and talk about what I'm going to be reading, because today is like, what, the 5th of May already, so we need to get the ball rolling. I think we can say that I've not done a good job because if I've got this many books stacked up, either I had an extremely ridiculous book haul or I've done an extremely ridiculously bad job of reading it, and I think we can all take a guess at which one that is. I've actually done the most amazing thing where I've not read a single book I was gifted my last birthday, which actually was quite shocking to see. I actually already started rectifying that. So let's start with the very first book that's on top here, which is Only Mostly Devastated by Sophie Gonzalez. This was gifted to me by my friend Sarah. Thank you so much, Sarah. This is amazing. This is so funny and I'm over halfway through it. So I started this one just at the very end of April when I had like a moment of truth and I realised just how many books we've got to get through, and I was like, let's start one now. Let's just abandon all ships of every other current read and start reading this. This is a queer YA contemporary novel. It is a romance. It is really good. This is described as an LGBT Greece, and I think like the blurb and the vibe, I kind of get it. I'm not sure that Greece immediately jumps to mind reading the book, which isn't a bad thing, it's just I'm not sure that's the comparison I would make. This has been like a 5-star read so far, and it's really similar to Tobias Madden's Anything But Fine, so if you've read that and you like that, then do read this. But this is technically the first cab off the rank, and I'm already reading it, and I think this will not take me too long to finish. So we can safely say that at the end of May I'll at least have ticked one of these books off my list, and honestly sometimes that's a tall order, so you know. Now the rest of these books have been given to me by family and friends. This is the main thing I usually get for my birthday is books, and I have a wish list that goes around to everyone and it results in chaos, delightful chaos. So I'm going to go through and I think I'm going to divvy it up by presents, all the present like books given to me by one person, and then talk through when I think I'm going to read it in a month and my thoughts about it and what it's about. But let's go. Now to do that I'm going to have to take all these off though, so I can sort them. The way I keep track of these, usually I do it on a spreadsheet basically, so when I get if I get books for my birthday, then I log them immediately and I write down who they're from. And I often read them in order of rating, but I'm not going to be doing that this year. I write down like the Goodreads average rating as of when I hold it. And then I usually order it and go through that way, but I actually don't want to do that this year. I'm going to go by vibe, and I'm going to be thinking about things I think will be quick and easy and engaging because I'm really on like a high with my reading at the moment and I want to keep the momentum up. So the next book was also from Sarah, and that's Lifelike by J. Kristoff. Now I'm really excited to read this. I'm slowly reading more books by J. Kristoff, and this is one of his solo books. So I've read Empire of the Vampire and I've also read Aurora Rising. I didn't like Aurora Rising, amazingly so. Ironically, actually that was also from Sarah. Sarah is clearly giving me a J. Kristoff education, but I think I've got a problem with Amy Kaufman, so that's just a story for another day. So this No Amy Kaufman, very excited. I love these covers also, just as an aside, and I think, I don't know, is this steampunk? I don't actually know much about the lifelike series, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a rollicking good time. If his writing in Empire of the Vampire is anything to go by, then that man deserves all the hype that he could possibly get. Oh, and I got this signed! Sorry, I just read the message. I forgot, I've got this. It says, for Kirsty, let's see if I can get this up here. It says, for Kirsty, learn to swim, which I believe must be something relevant to the book, because we didn't discuss swimming when I met him, and that was at Supernova, one of those geeky, nerdy events that we all love so much. There's words like getting credits, war dome, gangs, scrap piles in the blurb, and it's just that, oh, I'm so excited. I'm hoping this is going to be like a real adult version of like Ready Player One, but like grungier. I don't know. I mean, like, it's not like it's virtual gaming, but I don't know, the vibe of Ready Player One. Do you get what I mean? She says, never having actually read that book. Anyway, so this is probably going to be up towards the beginning of the month, if not one of the next books that I read, because I think I can whiz through this one. It is just over, or just near to 400 pages long, so you know, reasonable amount of pages to get through, but nothing that is too terrifying. The other thing I'm thinking of doing is actually putting in a schedule. I might sit down and like get really into it and make a chapter by chapter schedule. I find that to be really quite helpful sometimes, so I may do that if I pick out a book or two for the week, because it's going to need to be more than one book a week. I'll think about that as we're talking, and I'll come back to it at the end if I remember. The next few books is from my friend Amy. Thank you so much, Amy, for giving me books. I'm so excited to read them, even if it's taken me a while to get to, and that is Ice Walls by Amy Kaufman. Hold on to my slander of Amy Kaufman just previously, and Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. Now, nervous, yes, but I am hopeful that this could be the Amy Kaufman book that wins me over. So my reasoning for hating on Amy Kaufman is because I read Unearthed, which was Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner, didn't love it, and then I read Aurora Rising also with Jay Kristoff, and I didn't love it. So maybe Amy Kaufman by herself could be a thing. I've just seen so many good reviews for her new YA release that's come out, and so I'm feeling like I'm going to keep giving her a try, but I think we'll know. If I like this, we'll know Amy Kaufman can write, and I'm just having a bad, unlucky run of it with her collabs, but if not, then we can safely assume she's possibly not for me. But this is like a middle grade adventure, and I'm really keen to read it. It has a very enticing tagline endorsement at the top that says, "We'll keep you reading late into the night," and that's by Marie Lu, who is another renowned YA author. This one is about like two groups. There's the Ice Wolves and then there's the Scorched Dragons, and they are sworn enemies who are set to live separate lives. The protagonist in this is 12 years old, so it is middle grade. My understanding of the Ice Wolves and the Scorched Dragons as being like gangs or packs or groups, I think it also has to do with these elemental like form you can take. So there's siblings in here and they both take two different elemental forms. Presumably that means one of them becomes a wolf and one becomes a dragon, in whatever form that happens. I'm so excited at the premise of this book. And the whole plot of this one is that the brother is convinced that despite his sister taking an opposite form to him, he doesn't believe she's evil or bad, and so he's going to try and rescue her from the Scorched Dragons. So I'm really curious to see how this boils down, whether it's going to be like a mass miscommunication plot, like if he gets there and it's like, oh, hang on, these guys are nice, or if there's actually going to be some baddies at play and she does need rescuing. I'm so intrigued by this story. It seems like shape-shifting, but maybe like not literal, or I don't know. I'm keen. I'm really in the mood for middle grade right now, so let's hope. I think this will be at the like top to middle range of where I'm going to read in the month, just because it's middle grade. It should be light and easy to read, so I'm having high hopes that this will be one that will help keep the momentum up, providing I like it. And so when it comes to Rainbow Rowell's book, I've never really had a bad run with Rainbow Rowell. I really enjoyed Fangirl and I loved Carry On, so Eleanor and Park I feel like is one of her real classic novels, and I've been meaning to get to it for ages and ages and ages. It's a contemporary love story. You've got Eleanor, who is the new girl in town, and then you've got Park, who is the boy at the back of the bus. So a bit of a Romeo and Juliet, good girl, bad boy. I don't know, is Romeo really a bad boy? Doesn't matter, the analogy still applies. And then there's like mixtapes involved, so you know, we're all there for a classic romance that involves mixtapes. So I've then got a path of education to go on, and Chris's parents, specifically his mum, picked up some classics for me to read, and that is Daphne du Maurier. No, that's not what it's called, that's the author. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and then also Little Women by, what's her name? Oh my god, what is her name? Alcott, Louisa May Alcott. Now, I am so excited to read both of these. I've been slightly shying away from them because they're classics and classics are scary. But Rebecca is a modern classic, to be fair. I've not read anything by Daphne du Maurier before, or indeed by Louisa May Alcott, but Daphne du Maurier, at an uneducated guess, I would say has more books. I love this cover though, isn't it beautiful? That nice foiling on the front, it's lovely. Chris's mum is convinced that this is like a travesty, that I have not read enough classics in my life, so I am hoping to get to them. Now, in terms of where, Little Women, we're all familiar with the name, and if you don't know what it's about, then you probably don't care what it's about. And if you do care what it's about, go and watch the film, which this has got a little tie-in jacket from. And yes, I'll take the jacket off, don't worry. It's just lovely and simple and red. This is such a beautiful edition without the jacket. And Rebecca, I can't remember what Rebecca's about, so let's have a little read, shall we? Working as a paid companion to a bitter elderly lady, the timid heroine of Rebecca learns her place. Life is bleak until, on a trip to the south of France, she falls in love with Maxime de Winter. I don't know what accent that was. A handsome widower whose proposal takes her by surprise. Gosh, that moved quickly. Whisked from Monte Carlo to Manderley, Maxime's isolated Cornish estate, the friendless young bride begins to realise that she barely knows her husband at all. Yeah, I could have told you that. Come on. And in every corner of every room is the phantom of his first beautiful wife, Rebecca. Oh my god, this sounds a lot like Jane Eyre, and Jane Eyre is low-key one of my favourite classics. Okay, might be bumping that one up the list. These will probably both sit mid-range / towards the end of the month because I'm sure I will get really scared about them and binge read all of the fantasy before I read the classics. Let's not lie here, we know it will happen, but how intriguing. The next one's a book from my sister, and this one I'm very excited for but terrified about the size, and it is Kate Quinn's The Alice Network. Now, Kate Quinn is one of the new loves of my life, and I absolutely adore her work. I have read The Rose Code and I loved it. I have read The Diamond Eye and I loved it, and I read her new short story, The Signal Moon, and that was honestly just far too good for 50 pages. And I now am making my way through her backlist. And The Alice Network is another World War II story, and just like her other ones, always looking at some interesting feminine angle of the war, whether it's Bletchley Park coding girls, whether it's female snipers or radio girls. This one I think is going to be spies, I hope so. Oh my gosh, and it flips to World War I as well, I forgot. She just writes so well. So this is 1947 and 1915, so it's sort of straddling the wars in a weird way. I'm so excited. So the fact that it's Kate Quinn will stop this coming in at the end of the month, but I probably won't read this first up. I will probably get as many of the short, sharp, punchy teen fantasy novels done as I can, and then I'll move on and sink my teeth into some historical fiction. Certainly when I look at my calendar and what's going on in the month, that will probably dictate when I read this, which will probably be in a quieter weekend. This is, for your information, just over 500 pages. It looks like it's a million pages, but it's only 500, so it's actually better than I thought. The next book is one that has had so many good reviews, and that is Lessons in Chemistry. This was from Gemma. Thank you so much for getting this for me, Gemma. I'm so excited to read it. This one is another feminist historical fiction, and I don't think it's only like just historical fiction. It's set in the 60s, but most classifications count things before 70 as historical. So this one is about a woman who's not your average woman. She is a woman in a man's world doing good stuff and slaying all the men. That is basically my understanding of this book. There's definitely a lot more depth to it, but it's just had so many good reviews. I'm really excited for it. I love the cover for this one. Really enjoying the colours here. It's a good vibe. And I love the like TV briefcase vibe thing. Like, oh, there's so much, the stance, like, oh, I just love it. I love everything about this. So I am hoping I love this as much as the rest of the world has. I don't think this will be too hard to read. I think I will read this before I read Kate Quinn, because any historical fiction I read after Kate Quinn is going to be suffering for it because I will just love it so much. The next book is one that may well be one of the first I read after Only Mostly Devastated, and that is Bravely by Maggie Stiefvater. Now, I have read like one book by Maggie Stiefvater in my life. It's a real remiss of me, actually, that I haven't got there. But this was from Wendy, so thank you, Wendy, for getting this for me. This is amazing. I'm so glad you got me this book. Merida and Brave are my favourite, like, things about the Disney world, and it's my favourite movie. So I don't know how I haven't got around to this one yet. But this one is not too big. It is around the 350 page mark, and it's going to be a retelling, I think, just beyond the events of the movie. And I just love that it exists. It amazes me that this exists, and it's written by Maggie Stiefvater. Like, it's just like, oh, my two perfect worlds have come together. Someone wants me to enjoy my life. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. The cover's beautiful, the story's sure to be beautiful, and even the typesetting, it's done in a really nice font. I have to show you this, just so that you can appreciate this. I don't know what font this is, but it's very pleasant on the eyes. Very pleasant indeed. Okay, we are getting there. The next two are from Chris. So Chris got me for my birthday last year a special set of the Scythe trilogy by Neil Shusterman. I think that was my birthday. That was for my birthday. And obviously I've read those. That was my main present, but he also spoiled me. And he got me two historical fiction books, which I'm really looking forward to. First one is The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton, terrifyingly thick, but I'm really excited to read Kate Morton's stuff. All of her books have recently been, oh, there's some fun things in here. I was saying all of her things have recently been rejacketed, and she's got like a bit of an author brand going now, which is cute. Where is that thing? I saw a thing. Look at that! What's that about? There's some nice little bordering, just randomly and occasionally. So this is set in 1930, and the main character is 21 years old, and she finds out about this little girl who was found alone on a passenger ship on its way to Australia. 45 years later, she embarks on like this journey to discover more truth, presumably about the little girl, and then her granddaughter thinks she knows more about her grandmother than she did, but oh, and then she dies. Oh. Spoilers, don't you think? I feel like that's spoilers in the back there. Maybe that happens very quickly. But I think it's basically going to be a family saga where someone is uncovering the truth, and the Forgotten Garden is going to be the location of the property where all the truth hunting is going on. I'm not sure, but I am really excited to read it because Kate Morton is a very well respected historical fiction sort of saga writer. The other book that Chris got me is The Boy with Blue Trousers. I love how shimmery this cover is. This one is by Carol Jones, and it's set in 1856 in China and 1857 in Australia. So in the 1856 Chinese timeline, the main character is disguised as a boy, and she is making her way over to Australia. There's another character who's arrived in Australia after fleeing England and a scandal back at home. And I think the two characters are going to come together, and it's going to be like a really beautiful story of like differences and being in foreign lands and finding a found family. And that brings me to the last three books that I've got on the TBR. Oh, I didn't say when I was going to read these ones. So these ones, I think historical fiction, we're going to put them mid to the end of the month. Again, I do want to read The Alice Network and Lessons in Chemistry before both of those, but I can't decide if I want to do Kate Morton before The Boy with Blue Trousers. Very conflicted over that. Next three books are moving away from historical fiction, and these ones are from my aunt and uncle, and that is An Arrow to the Moon by Emily XR Pan. I am obsessed with this cover. This shouldn't be too hard to read, so this might be something that I could honestly maybe break up some of the historical fiction with at the end of the month. I don't vibe that this one's going to be like a super speedy read, but it could be faster than some of the chunky boys sitting over here. So this one is about a character called Hunter, and he has perfect aim with a bow and arrow, but everything else in his life veers off course, and I just love that opening. He's haunted by his family's mistakes, and the only things that are keeping him from running away is his younger brother, a supernatural wind, and the bewitching new young girl at school. Actually, is this fantasy or is this contemporary? I feel like this one is contemporary, but it so looks like a fantasy. Yeah, it is. Okay, so this is contemporary. I definitely think I should read this like in amongst the historical fiction then to break it up, despite the fact that that really looks like it was going to be like a myth retelling. Anyway, moving on to things that are definitely fantasy, we've got The Colour of Dragons by R.A. Salvatore and Erica Lewis. I have been dying to pick this up, but just haven't got there yet. This one says magic needs a spark, and presumably there will be dragons involved, and if there's not, I'll be a little bit upset. So we've got a main character who's waiting for her powers to be awakened, but there's no one around who's able to help her learn to control it. So then we're introduced to another character who is the King's Champion, and he is involved with hunting down either dragons or things that are similar to dragons. That's like his thing. And these characters' lives are somehow going to come together in a way that is super fateful and important to the storyline, and I'm keen. I think this will be a really quick read, so again, this one might sit towards the beginning of the month. It's not one that I really want to leave towards the end of the month because it has dragons in the title, and therefore I really want to read it. That's how I work. And the last one is a nice chunky read, and that is Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. Now, I have heard so many good things about this. This one has nothing but like salivatingly good reviews for it, and it's huge. It's quite a big book actually. It's a really tall book, and it's also 500 pages, which is scary because I don't think this one looks like 500 pages, so I'm now terrified. It has a really long blurb. I'm hoping for a like Hansel and Gretel retelling for reasons I don't know why. Maybe a Red Riding Hood retelling. Let's find out what it's about. So this is about the adopted goddaughter of Death and Fortune. Wow. Yep, okay, I don't need to read anything more than that. I am sold. That sounds great. I don't think this will be a slow read, but I think it will take some time to read. I think this is probably one of the most at-risk books of me not getting to it, just because I will deliberate over, oh look, there's illustrations in it too, how exciting. I think I'll end up deliberating on when to put it in the month, and then I'll end up putting it towards the end and run out of time. So I should make the decision now. I'm certainly thinking we're starting with Only Mostly Devastated. I'm tempted to then move on to Ice Wolves and see how I feel about Amy Kaufman. If that goes badly, then I can reassure myself with Jay Kristoff before moving back to Rainbow Rowell and tick off all the smaller reads. And then I think I should move on to Bravely, followed by Lessons in Chemistry, The Alice Network, maybe dabble into Rebecca and see what happens. I could then do The Boy with Blue Trousers, The Arrow to the Moon, and I think I could then power through The Colour of Dragons, Little Thieves, The Forgotten Garden, and end up with Little Women. Because we all know I can read that much in 1 month. Anyway, that's the lineup. That's the books we're going for. So 1, 2, 3, 13, 14. 14 books to go. That's actually not an insane number. That is a doable number with concerted effort. However, I have a very busy month ahead of me. Lots of exciting things happening that I can't wait to fill you in and tell you about. So that may really quite hinder me. But this is everything that I'm going to be trying to read for May, my special birthday TBR. I'm so excited. Thank you to everyone who contributed to this TBR. I can't wait to see what this year brings. But other than that, I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.
Alle gloria mia